Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nargis Zahra with the new episode of Old Theatre with New Players. The political power balances, imbalances, and rebalances around the world. Today, to talk with me, I'm honored with the presence of Dr. Omar Zakhilwal. He has served at many governmental positions on behalf of the government of Afghanistan. And what led me to him was his tenure as ambassador of Afghanistan to Pakistan from 2016 and 18. He has been finance minister of Afghanistan also. And um, um, in the list of all the guests that I have to discuss the peace and future of Afghanistan and that region, I think he's the only one who has the economic pulse of the country and who knows, and he has also served at the Central Bank of Pakistan. So thank you so much. Welcome on board, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for joining us. So, sir, to start with, the first and foremost question, I'll come to the economic questions. But how do you think, what way the peace, will be leading now that we have Joe Biden? And before 2019, he had some different stance towards Taliban's and ouster of the troops from Afghanistan when he was serving with Barack Obama. And now, like, he has different, then he seems to have a middle way, like he will be having peacekeeping forces, counterterrorism forces there. He may or he may not. So how do you look at the future of ouster of troops and peace in Afghanistan under Joe Biden in United States of America?
Well, as far as I can see, both from his rhetoric and talks during the campaign, and also during the tenure of his vice presidency for 8 years, in which I had the pleasure to meet him along with my presidents many times. I think he is pro peace. He was for the withdrawal of U.S. forces back in 2008-9 till the end of the second term under President Obama. He was against the surge of troops back then as well. The peace talks with the Taliban, or the opening of the Taliban as Doha office, in fact, started during their time. It wasn't a President Trump's time phenomena. And during his campaign, he also supported the withdrawal of U.S. troops, which is an important point in the Taliban-U.S. agreement, and for a negotiated settlement in that country. Therefore, I don't see many changes between President Trump's presidency and also President Biden's presidency, particularly when it comes to the terms of the U.S. Troop withdrawal, and also to the terms of the settlement parallel to that. So I don't see much of a difference between these two.
Fine, that is, like similar to so many other opinions that I'm getting from the experts on the subject, or the stakeholders of the country. So I read somewhere, sir, that pardon that I haven't gone through this report, but you have authored first ever national human development report for Afghanistan, and means, and that got the best analysis for the document also. It was in 2007. And I'm relating it to the statement of Mr. Pompeo in Doha when he said that, the scope and the size of financial assistance of United States of America towards Afghanistan depends upon the conduct and, the way things are taking shape. So how do you look at the state of human development in the country and the future in this scenario?
Well, no doubt in the past 20 years, human development indicators have improved significantly, whether they be education, per capita income, health indicators, and others. But at the same time, we acknowledge that it probably would not have been where they are today without a heavy dependence on foreign assistance. Um, that unfortunately makes these indicators unsustainable. And realizing also that foreign assistance at the level it poured into Afghanistan in the past 15, 20 years cannot continue and may not continue, and most likely will not continue. Um, um, One thing with foreign aid, the plus is that it certainly um, um, injects um, um, some improvement into the indicators, but they also generate dependency. The Afghan economy as a whole, and and also the human development indicators are heavily dependent on foreign assistance, in a very high level of foreign assistance. What my hope is that the assistance from outside will continue to pour into Afghanistan, because without them we would be in difficulty in such a manner that generates self dependency, that it does not generate more dependency. And for that, we need to rely more on our own potentials, or the utilization of our own potentials. We are not a poor country. In fact, we are a very rich country endowed with a lot of natural resources, and also human resources. But of course, they need to be managed. But in addition to management is not enough. We need a safe and secure environment. We need peace. The peace is a precondition to all. With peace, we believe and hope that investment, first by Afghans, but then secondly by regional countries and foreign investors, uh, will come to Afghanistan. And what would give sustainability to human development indicators, to the Afghan economy, would be those interventions, private interventions, private investment, private business entrepreneurship that will strengthen the Afghan economy. Right now, as we speak, tens of billions of dollars Afghan money has been invested in other countries because Afghanistan is not safe. They've been invested in UAE, they've been invested in Turkey, in Pakistan, Malaysia, Europe, you name it. And Afghans would like to return to their own country, and put those money into their own sort of potentials. And I'm pretty confident that they will do so. That will be more beneficial and impactful to the Afghan economy than even the foreign assistance that pours into the country.
Yes, and that takes me to the point, because when I was looking at the future of economy in relation to the peace, so obviously means peace is required for the development and economy, and vice versa. So it's kind of a cycle, and it's difficult to break it once if a country is caught in it. And since these peace talks have started and Taliban's are coming to the table for negotiation, but they are not cooperating to give a guarantee that they will curb or they will let the violence, just go off their agenda of political or whatever agenda they have. So the capital departure is, I think, an alarming thing for the central bank. And then there is obviously depreciating currency. And then, yes, the deposits, as you said, are declining. And because why America becomes more important, because America was the leading force to, counter Taliban since 2001. And secondly, that America has been the biggest donor. If I'm not wrong, the figure stands at $130 billion in terms of social development and other projects which are non-security projects. So yes, but this is a silver lining to the cloud, if, as you said, that money will come back to Afghanistan once peace is there. But I haven't heard this takes me to the other thing. The central government in Pakistan, in Afghanistan at the moment, does not highlight guaranteeing the people that what would they get out of peace. And my concern as an analyst is that when we look at Afghanistan, if the war and instability and the violence has become a kind of economy and source of earning for certain groups, and those groups are not essentially the Taliban groups. So number one, and all those groups have their families. Obviously, they make a chunk of the population and they affect the demography. And secondly, government is so involved with its political considerations of peace or no peace, post-ouster, pre-ouster of the troops, that government is not highlighting its agendas verbally to address concerns of the people or concerns of these groups other than Taliban's, who are, I would say, out of no other choice in last 10-15 years, who have joined the, I would say, lines of the merchants of chaos in Afghanistan. So how would government manage peace if, okay, fine, if America is there and everything, but having these two factors in mind, uh, the economic one and the political priority. So how would government manage then? Where to start between development and peace?
Well, first of all, let me say that our central government, relative to our economy, is in a very good position, and so is our exchange rate. In the past 2 years, particularly when the peace talks have intensified, and particularly in the past 1 year when the U.S. troops, or 6 months when the U.S. troops pullout has begun from Afghanistan, it has had no negative impact on our currency. In fact, if any, it has strengthened it. So there shows a bit of a resilience there, and it's also shows um, the the expectations of people, of the business community. Capital flight, if whatever has taken place, that was more 5, 6, 7 years ago. But in the past 3 years, no significant further capital flight has taken place. If it had, it would have had impact on our currency, which had none whatsoever, if any, like I said, slightly positive. So that means people are hopeful for peace, and that shows in that particular indicator. Now coming to the criminal economy and to the war factors, the war factors is not the criminal economy is not the war factor. It's a symptom of it. So definitely, when there is no peace in the country, there is a big chunk of prominent sort of fighters, such as the Taliban, fighting the government and all that. So in that environment, the criminal economy will also flourish. But that criminal segment um, doesn't actually challenge the state, or doesn't challenge the peace. What challenges the peace is the Taliban. And when there is peace with the Taliban, then um, reining in those criminal networks and the criminal economy becomes more of a law enforcement issue, not so much of a peace and war issue. So once this is settled, that becomes easier, because first that you take away that environment in which they flourish, in which they operate, and second, the state has been strengthened because then it's in peace. It doesn't have to worry about the threat of the Taliban. It will worry about the law enforcement issue, and that doesn't become such a huge and big issue. But like I said, the criminal economy, including the drug economy, is more a symptom of in unpeaceful and unpeaceful Afghanistan, and the war theater that we have in that country.
Thank you, sir. So my means I have I'm getting that hope from you, and that you are the first guest in my show who has discussed Afghanistan with this kind of optimism, and that is, I would buy it, with Playa because this is an on-ground, first-hand analysis of someone who is, so deeply involved with the politics and economy of Afghanistan. Seriously, so because that the Afghanistan is a country because its geography affects so many other countries.
Yes.
The situation in Afghanistan has a ripple effect and no one can, like avoid it. So one has to, so a strategy which shifts in Afghanistan makes all other strategies in the region get shifted. So that takes me to another thing, which is kind of a question. It's entirely up to you if you want to avoid this question,
No.
because when we trickle down the structures and the factors of chaos in Afghanistan or the economic situation or uncertainty of the future as media is portraying it, there are certain stakeholders, say the countries or the organizations, which are merchants of chaos. Because when you are talking about peace, you are going to, put a full stop to this criminal economy, or say the war economy, state or non-state. And it is an economy which is goes unaccountable for, in financial sense. There is no audit of this economy. It gives lots of bucks of money to the people who are involved. And okay, there is blood involved, but usually the ones who shed blood are the ones who are ideologically moved, and they don't get money. The money is got by the ones who are at some other circle. So does Afghan government have in mind, or do you think the merchants of chaos are already on the negotiation table with the Afghan government? Are they playing double, or are they just sitting back and looking at what happens in Afghanistan? See, when a militant, jobless Afghani just doesn't get a job from the government and goes out and gets hired by some non-state organization to, act violent and get paid for it, someone is paying. So I am talking about those actors.
Well, I think to an extent I did answer that. Like I said, first of all, even those who benefited from war
Yeah.
uh, would then at some point want peace to enjoy that accumulation of wealth.
Mhm.
Um, um, back in the 1990s, when there was infighting in the country, and the words warlords sort of emerged out of that. Powerful people controlling land, controlling resources, controlling wealth, and all that. Then we saw them that they were around the table in bond agreement, some of them in 2001, and they become peaceful participants in the subsequent government that emerged, and those who are alive are still peaceful participants today. And particularly if you look at their children, they have educated children, sort of with a mindset very different from their fathers back in the 90s or even the 80s. Pro peace, pro education, pro modernization, and pro all those sort of positive things. So again, first of all, like I said, um, peace is such a needed thing in the country. That's not only the need of ordinary Afghans, not only the need of those who are not part of the war, but even of those who are part of the war. If you remember 2.5 years ago, when there was this temporary ceasefire in Eid between the Afghan government and the Taliban fighters poured into the cities and showed, even for the temporary ceasefire, so much enthusiasm that even ordinary Afghans did not show. They loved those 3 4 days of ceasefire and war, ceasefire and peace. So you can imagine there's a lot of the elements that you talked about. um, yeah, that have benefited from war would at some point want peace, and I think that point has reached. But if there still remains, after the peace settlement between the Taliban and the government or the larger population, still remains some elements who continue to be a force for chaos, then it becomes a law enforcement issue. And it becomes the job of the state to handle that, and particularly the state that is now not dealing with a larger war should be able to deal with even in peaceful countries, even in the US, there is there are elements who um, uh, you know are line order challenge. So the line order deals with it in Pakistan or in India or in any other country. There are in Afghanistan. We will have more of it, no doubt about it. But it is coming out of a really lengthy war. But like I say, my own expectation is a lot of these elements will still be pro peace and settle with peace, enjoy what they have accumulated. But if there still remains others outside, then the state with peace should be able to handle them.
Perfect, perfect. Actually, I just wanted to dig a bit more into it because, each one of us know that when there is such situation in a country, then there are some destabilizing factors, non-state and state factors from other states, which, just come in and they start utilizing the situation to multiple purposes. So I just wanted to listen what you said, and again there is a ray of hope. So there is an upcoming conference on 23rd and 24th of November. I think it's being hosted by Finland in Geneva. It's Afghan Ministerial Conference, and um, would that be affected by how the peace talks are moving ahead? Because it's very important for Afghan economy. This conference, I think last year it was in 2016, and for economic stability, this conference results are very important.
I think it would be, yeah, no doubt about it. If we had a peace settlement and then gone to this conference, then it would have one type of outcome. And if with no peace settlement and no going, it will have another kind of outcome. I think the outcome will be more sort of a temporary interim relief now, not more of a long-term um, commitment or investment by our international partners now. Because with peace, then they would know the outcome, and they would predict the direction in which Afghanistan is going, and that investment with peace are not going to be wasted by war, particularly in infrastructure and all that is threatened by war. So now it would be more sort of um, emergency type of assistance that would be pledged, whether that is to health or to education or to security forces, but the type of long term that makes our economy sustainable, I probably would not see it happening. But there still will be pledges, no doubt about it.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm just looking at the time, and a great many points. The takeaways are that uh, the, there is economic hope if there is peace, or even if there is, I would say, a glimpse of peace, an interim peace in Afghanistan in near future. So the hopes are that the capital of Afghanis, which is invested out where anywhere in the world, would come back, and that would support the economy of the country.
Not all of it, but quite a
But
bit. Yeah.
a trend will start, obviously, because there is kind of a trust which is between a central bank and the people, and this is how the economy, like functions. So a functional economy depends upon peace, and even in interim peace, as I'm getting it, can work. And then the most important thing is that the contemporary Afghanistan has liberal, educated, well versed, and well exposed youth, which can take care of the peace once this is assured. And so many people in the network of different levels of, like active or passive violence because of some problem or circumstance, because 20 years is a long time for unrest in a country. So they would definitely come back, because everyone loves peace. Obviously, this is a basic human factor. Thank you so much, Dr. Umar Zakhilwal,
Pleasure
for
to do
joining
it.
us. And it was such a I would say insightful learning experience to talk to you. And thanks for addressing my curiosity also.
My
And
pleasure.
have a great day. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.